Okay, hi everybody. I welcome you once again today on our series Indigenous Hands and Indigenous Voices. Last week we had Mary as our guest speaker, and she introduced to us the Adamorobe Sign Language, which is an indigenous sign language used in Ghana, and I'm sure you really enjoyed that intro. And today we are continuing on the volume 2 of the intro to Adamorobe Sign Language. And without wasting much of a time, I want to introduce Mary Edward once again to you.
Another research by Miles in 2004 reports that the deaf people in Adamorobe are the first substantial group of African people known to have used a formal sign language. Deaf adults in Adamorobe communicate by clicks, mouthing, and hand signs. ADSL is only used in Adamorobe, and outside Adamorobe, Ghanaian Sign Language is the language that is used by the majority deaf population. And that counts for the reason the deaf children from Adamorobe had to learn Ghanaian Sign Language when they go to school. Let's look at certain socio-cultural and socio-economic factors. In terms of socio-cultural and socio-economic factors, the situation of Adamorobe Sign Language is similar to that of Bura Sign Language, which is used in a Hausa community in northeast of Nigeria. Blanche and Warren 2005 went to the community and identified a village with its own sign language, and the socio-economic conditions of the people in Bura is similar to what is found in Adamorobe. So adult signers in both Bura and Adamorobe have limited education, and in Adamorobe, majority of them, of the adult signers, do not have formal education. In both Bura and Adamorobe, deafness is believed to be caused by a genetic mutation. In Adamorobe, deafness has been accepted as part of the community heritage. As long as anyone could remember, there have always been deaf people around them. And interviews with the deaf people in Adamorobe reveals that in the past, several researchers visited the community because of them and claimed we are very special. In Adamorobe, the hearing people have learned to share their lives with the deaf people. And this includes a section of hearing people who also have a positive outlook for deaf people in Adamorobe. This includes the family and friends of the deaf people. Most hearing signers of Adamorobe see Adamorobe Sign Language as signed Akan, and believe that whenever they are signing Adamorobe Sign Language, they are speaking Akan on their hands. Over the years, linguistic research in Adamorobe Sign Language has been pioneered by foreign linguists. Notable of them is Victoria Nist, Annalise Kustes, and Nancy Frischberg. Nancy Frischberg was the first person to have named Adamorobe Sign Language ADASL. But the majority of the linguistic documentation on Adamorobe Sign Language has been done by Victoria Nist. In other words, Adamorobe Sign Language is not an undocumented language. There are several research works that have been done and still ongoing. These researchers, Victoria Nist, Annalise Kustes, and Nancy Frischberg, documented and described different aspects of the linguistics and the sociolinguistics of Adamorobe and Adamorobe Sign Language. And their research work served as a bedrock for local linguists like me, who is now researching and exploring an indigenous sign language like Adamorobe Sign Language. My current research promotes documentation of Adamorobe Sign Language and the need to save it from possible endangerment. Researchers like Victoria Nist have identified that there is the need to document Adamorobe Sign Language to save it from possible endangerment. And I support Victoria Nist because in my visit to Adamorobe, I've seen that many people do not sign Adamorobe Sign Language as was said in the past, that everyone there can sign. It's no more the case. It's just the deaf people and people who are very close to the deaf people. Therefore, there is the need to document the sign language. When all the young adults decide to sign in GSL, we will not have Adamorobe Sign Language again. It will be a relic of the past. So the documentation is ultimately to prevent Adamorobe Sign Language to suffer the fate of other sign languages like the Martha's Vineyard Sign Language, which was believed to be a very vibrant sign language on the Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts, America, but it's now extinct or no more. In my research work, I've investigated Adamorobe Sign Language both for my MA and my PhD, and I've undertaken several field trips to Adamorobe, and I've worked closely with the members of the community to document and describe specific linguistic features of Adamorobe Sign Language. And considering what I've done, I've identified that there are several factors that can contribute to Adamorobe Sign Language becoming endangered or extinct. And the first factor is the lack of users. Another factor is when there is no documentation on it. And another factor is the unfavorable laws that causes stigmatization of the users of the language, including the marriage law. In Adamorobe, most deaf adults who used Adamorobe Sign Language during the time of Nancy Freshberg and Victoria Ness are no more. Few have passed away. And those that are alive are the ones carrying the heritage of Adamorobe Sign Language. We need to document now. Again, the gradual assimilation to GSL by the younger signers and the lack of documentation in some of the linguistic structures can lead to a possible loss of information. Thus, the need to engage more researchers to document an Indigenous African Sign Language like the Adamorobe Sign Language. Documentation of Indigenous African Sign Languages, such as Adamorobe Sign Language, is therefore crucial in the light of these factors that I've raised, as documentation will help preserve the use and interest in the language. Again, documentation will help to provide a heritage and a record for the future. Similarly, when we document Adamorobe Sign Language, then we can do a comparison with other Indigenous African Sign Languages like the Hausa Sign Language and the Bura Sign Language. The need for a collaborative work between myself as a linguist and the deaf community is very important for a successful documentation project. In my current project in Adamorobe, I have tried to involve the deaf people in this work by letting them know of the need for us to document their language now for posterity. Documentation of Adamorobe Sign Language and any other Indigenous Sign Language is an urgent remedy to save our Indigenous Sign Languages from endangerment. Some of these Indigenous Sign Languages are already moribund, and therefore the need for urgent documentation. Again, documentation doesn't mean the sign language researcher stands on her own. It is a cordial relationship between the sign language researcher and the deaf community, and encouraging the deaf individuals to support people within the academia to help document sign language as an important step. And that is exactly what I've been doing at Adamorobe. In the next series, we'll continue our discussion on Indigenous hands and Indigenous voices. I hope you've enjoyed this session on Adamorobe Sign Language. Catch you another time. Bye.
Okay, we've heard it all in today's topic, the second volume of the introduction to Adamorobe Signed Language, and I just want to go through a few factors that Mary emphasized in today's discussion. One of them is that Adamorobe Deaf Village is supposed to be the first deaf community to have used a formal sign language, according to Miles' work. And if you have listened to some of the topics I have discussed in this series, you will recall that I dealt with this issue when we were talking about the sign language used in the pre-colonial time, and we found out that there were traces of sign language use among some deaf communities before the colonial time. So it is important for us to have heard it today from Mary about Adamorobe Deaf Village. And so there are some concerning issues that today's topic raised, one of which is looking at the factors that impede the development of Adamorobe Sign Language, which is, which plus minus the factors that impede the development of every other indigenous sign languages. One of which is low education of the signers. Many deaf signers in the interior rural areas have very low education and do not know much about the development of their language, and have little or nothing to contribute towards the development of such. And also the linguistic shift. I really would have loved to talk about this much more, but I mean it touches a whole lot of spectrum about what we are dealing with. The shift that happens in indigenous deaf communities, it does not only stay there, it happens in the hearing communities, whereby the children born today prefer to use the modern language, prefer to use for the hearing families. You find out that children shift from their indigenous families to English, and the parents are huge contributors to this factor. And so Mary is letting us know today that this is hugely happening in Adamorobe Deaf Village, and this is one factor that is impeding upon the development of Adamorobe Sign Language. Remember, just like she mentioned, this happened in Martha's Vineyard in the United States, and at the end of the day, what became of American Sign Language today is not most of the times referred to as a product of the Martha's Vineyard. She also talked about lack of users. I think this is related to the shift. By the time more deaf signers are shifting to the what we call the school signs, for instance, Ghanaian Sign Language is an example of the school signs. So you find out that there are lesser users of Adamorobe Sign Language, and this is not a good factor for any indigenous sign language. And I think another one that is a very salient point is the laws, the unfavorable laws by the government. This is so touching to every aspect of deaf life, sign language, or any language at all, because when laws and legislations are not favoring any indigenous languages, that such language will begin to die. And you find out that some of those laws most times favor the foreign languages, or favor what you could call the contemporary language attitude. So, and it goes back to what I have discussed, talking about the language attitude. So these all touch that aspect of our discussion. What is the attitude of the government towards the language of its country, and what is the attitude of the users towards the language that they were born with, that they grew up with? And at the end of the day, what impact has the government legislation or policy on the use or on the attitude of language of the users? So all this run around to come to tell us the importance of language attitude to any indigenous language most of the times. And in our time of new media, when these languages come up to try to have a space, I think if there's anything users would do, it is to support their language. I would say that we have begun a series that we are going to continue to enjoy as long as we, discuss these factors and see how they touch us in our own attitude towards our languages. So in today's topic, I want to appreciate Mary for what the job and work she's doing in Adamorobe Sign Language, and we want to encourage more researchers and more, especially deaf scholars, to get into some of these studies. We are willing to get your questions to, treat some of them in this series. We want you to continue to support this program and stay safe in the era of COVID-19 pandemic. And we hope to see you again next week. Until then, bye.